Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the New England Aquarium Facebook Live, here celebrating one of our penguins' hatch days. So today, 40 years ago today, August 26, 1981, we had a penguin chick hatch here at the New England Aquarium who still resides here today. So she's spent her whole life here as an ambassador for the African penguin species and continues to do so today. Her name is Deco. She's got a blue bracelet on her right wing. She's currently swimming about the exhibit, but when she's not swimming, this island here is her territory. In fact, right here is Jaleel, one of her grandchildren, or grand penguins, I should say. So a fun fact, she has one chick here, or penguin here, who still resides within the colony. His name is Good Hope. He's 32 years old. She's been a great part of the SSP plan for our penguins here. She's got 3 grandchildren and 7 great-grand penguins here at the New England Aquarium. Her name, Deco, comes from the style of art called Art Deco, which often depicted penguins. Another fun fact is that her favorite fish are capelin. And she does like to swim about the exhibit, as you see, since she's not in her territory on the island right now, but hopefully she'll circle back and we can get a glimpse of her at some point. Yeah.
And so we're really excited to be celebrating this huge milestone for Deco today of her 40th hatch day. We believe she is actually the oldest African penguin in an AZA collection right now, so she is pretty awesome that she's lived 240 so that we can celebrate this milestone for her. Part of the reason we've been able to celebrate that milestone is not only all of the penguin staff who've cared for her over the past 40 years, but also all of the volunteers and interns that have donated their time to help us take care of the penguins, and our incredible veterinary staff that we have here at the New England Aquarium that also helps to devote their time to take care of these animals. So unfortunately, while we are celebrating this huge success for Deco, African penguins in their natural environment are facing a lot of threats right now. So there are 18 species of penguins in the world. Of those 18 species, 13 of them are actually classified as threatened or endangered. And out of those 13 species, there are 3 species of penguin that are identified as needing urgent conservation intervention right now, and the African penguins are one of those 3 species that need conservation intervention right now. So Deco is actually kind of swimming over here, over in that direction. So here comes Deco. She's probably going to make a beeline the other way. She doesn't really like a lot of attention, so she's not really enjoying this giant celebration for her birthday. But there she is swimming the opposite direction right now. So like I was saying, African penguins are one of the 3 species that are classified as needing urgent conservation intervention right now. Their average lifespan in their natural environment, which is South Africa and Namibia, is actually only about 10 to 15 years right now. So it's much lower than what their lifespan would be in their natural environment. Obviously, as they get older, it makes it harder for them to be able to catch prey and to avoid predators, but they actually have a lot of other issues that are affecting them in their natural environment, and we're going to tell you about a few of those main issues. So Brennan's going to start off by telling you guys a little bit about overfishing and how that affects African penguins.
Thanks, Amanda. So yeah, overfishing has become a big troubling cause for these guys in their natural environments. When you take more fish out of the oceans, that means less food for penguins to feed themselves, but also to feed their chicks. So chick numbers are on the decline. Even when chicks do hatch successfully, sometimes they don't get enough nourishment, so they don't get to survive to adulthood, and are often abandoned by their parents if they can't feed themselves and then feed their chicks. Another problem they are facing is global climate change. You want to talk about that?
So climate change obviously is something that affects us as humans, but it's also something that's really affecting penguins in their natural environment, especially African penguins. So some of the extreme weather events that are caused by climate change, like flooding, storm surges, and extreme heat events, are really affecting to penguins, especially when they're nesting. So when penguins are nesting, they spend most of their time on land sitting on those eggs or raising those chicks. So in these events that a flood or a storm surge or it's extremely hot happens, the adult penguins actually sometimes will have to abandon the nest in order to keep themselves safe, but unfortunately then that leaves their eggs and their chicks to be able to have to fend for themselves, which obviously they can't do at such a young age, and they usually don't survive once they've been abandoned. Another way that climate change is affecting them is by the way it's moving the ocean's currents. So as our global temperatures are rising, the cold water currents, like the Benguela current, which runs along the western coast of South Africa, these currents are moving farther away from the coastlines where African penguins live, which is making it a lot farther for them to have to travel to catch their food. which means sometimes they have trouble traveling that far of a distance, but it also means that they might not be able to eat enough fish that they still have some left to regurgitate back to their chicks once they make it back to their nests on land. So climate change combined with overfishing and the huge lack of fish and the lack of abundance of fish for them to be able to hunt in their natural environment is extremely affecting their populations right now.
That's right. So it's really important to conserve all African penguins as well as all species in their native environments, including sharks. Sharks play a great role in the eco-balance that we need to survive as a planet as a whole. So yeah, unfortunately, the declining numbers of African penguins have been declining over the past 120 years or so due to human impacts. In the early 1900s, there were 1.5 million individual penguins living in South Africa and Namibia, and that number has drastically changed down to only about 14,700 pairs in the world right now, with 10,400 being in South Africa alone. And I know I'm just throwing a lot of numbers at you, but here's one more number. Only over the past 2 years, 25% of African penguins in their native environments have either perished or died due to causes caused by humans. So this is all really sad, but the big takeaway number is that only 3% of African penguins are left in their historic natural environments.
So obviously this sounds really scary and it sounds like a lot of bad things we're telling you, but thankfully there are some things that we can all do to help. Simple things like using reusable plastics instead of single-use plastics can really make a difference. Not only does it mean that less plastic might end up in the ocean as pollution, but it also means that factories are having to produce less plastic, so they're emitting less gases into the atmosphere, helping to slow climate change. So that's extremely important. We can also be conscious about what kind of seafood we're eating. So if we're eating seafood, here's Deco again making another appearance. She's swimming over in this corner now, and again making a beeline the other way. If we can make sure that the seafood that we're eating is caught sustainably, then it's not going to affect the wild populations of those species of fish in their natural environments, therefore leaving more fish for the penguins to be able to eat. Another really easy thing that we can do is support organizations that support penguin conservation and penguin education. A great conservation organization is called SANCOB, which is called the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. They're an amazing rescue and rehabilitation center in South Africa that does some great work with African penguins. Oiled African penguins, abandoned African penguins, juveniles that are young and not being able to fend for themselves. So we can support them not only by learning about them, we can go over to South Africa and volunteer with them, but obviously on a more easy level, we can adopt a penguin through SANCOB or participate in their run for penguins that's happening in September. So make sure to check out their website for more information. On a more local level, you can visit your local zoo or aquarium and learn more about how they're helping to participate in not only African penguin conservation, but conservation for all kinds of other animals that are also endangered or threatened. But obviously today our focus is Deco, even though she decided not to make an appearance. And we just want to highlight her, and we want to highlight how incredible it is that she has gotten to celebrate her 40th hatch day. So we're going to challenge you guys today in honor of Deco and her 40th hatch day to make a decision to live blue and to maybe reduce our single-use plastics and make some of those decisions to be able to help save the African penguin in their natural environment.
Great, thank you, Amanda. So we can open it up to any questions that you, the audience, might have.
How many African penguins do we have?
So we have just under 50 African penguins here. We have two species here at the New England Aquarium, southern rockhoppers and our African penguins. So we have just over 60 penguins altogether, but just under 50 African penguins total. Good question. Where did they get their names? So all our names here are educational names based on their species. So actually, Good Hope is Deco's son right here. He's 32 years old, as I mentioned earlier. So Good Hope is named after the Cape of Good Hope, where African penguins have a breeding colony. So
How big do they grow?
These are all full grown, so usually full grown, they're about 2 feet tall, weigh about 5 to 7 pounds. But all of the penguins that you see here are full grown, so this is as big as they're going to get.
How fast do they swim?
They usually swim about 5 to 7 miles per hour, but they can swim in bursts of up to like 15 to 17 miles per hour. So once they get swimming, they can go really quickly.
And as you can see, it's feeding time in the background. That's why there's a little more excitement amongst the birds right now as we get into their afternoon feed.
This is roast beef. Roast beef is one of our outreach penguins, so a lot of people may have heard of him. He's pretty famous. He's named after a breeding island that is located off the coast of South Africa. The roast beef, and his brother's name is Plum Pudding, which is also another breeding island.
How do you tell the penguins apart from each other?
Great question. So if you notice, each one has a different colored bracelet on their left or their right wing. So this not only tells us who they are, but it also tells us the sex of the penguin. Since penguins aren't sexually dimorphic, which means you can't tell whether they're a boy or a girl just by looking at them, we'll take a little blood sample when they're juveniles, send it off to a lab, and they'll come back and tell us whether they're a male or female. From there, we'll put the bracelet on the left wing if they're a male, and the right wing if they're a female. So knowing roast beef is right here, he's got a gray bracelet on his left wing. I know that's roast beef just by looking at his bracelet.
An easy way to remember which side their bracelet is on is that girls' bracelets are on their right because girls are always right.
How long do African penguins live?
So in their natural environment, their lifespan is only about 10 to 15 years. Right now, mostly averaging closer to 10 because of the lack of fish for them to be able to eat in their natural environment. In human care, they typically live into their 20s, sometimes even 30s. We have about 4 birds that are over the age of 30 currently in our colony. Obviously, one of those being Deco, who we're here to celebrate today, making it to 40 years old as our oldest penguin in our colony.
How often do you feed them?
So we'll feed them twice a day, once in the morning at 9 and again in the afternoon at 2:30 or so. And we feed them a variety of fish throughout the week just so they don't get sick of the same fish, but also so they get nutrition out of their fish. And so we're not taking too many fish out of one stock of fish, so we're not adding to the problem. So yeah, twice a day, once in the morning at 9 and again at 2:30.
Do you guys have favorite penguins?
They're all our favorites.
We love all of them equally.
But Deco is definitely up there. She's a very sweet penguin. Although she doesn't like the spotlight too much, she is very sweet.
Does Deco come back at all?
No.
She is right
So
in the
she's right here.
background, so she usually waits till usually the end of the feed. She doesn't like to hustle and bustle to the front.
She spends a lot of her time swimming, so when a lot of this chaos is going on, she's going to swim farther away from the fray, wait till she can kind of sneak up and have her meal, and then she goes back to swimming.
Who are the people behind you?
So these are actually 2 of our amazing volunteers who help us out every single day. So Rosie is getting to feed today. She's a co-op with us through Northeastern University, and Ray is feeding along with her. He's one of our awesome volunteers who's been with us for
2013.
7 or 8 years now. We wouldn't be able to do what we do every day without our volunteers and interns, so we're super grateful for them and all the help that they give us and all the care that they also provide to our colony of penguins.
What was the organization you said, SANCOB again?
Yes, the SANCOB is the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. So they work with not only African penguins, but a lot of other coastal species as well. But they definitely do a lot of amazing work with African penguins and are really trying to spread the message right now about how endangered and how critical the need is to help to save the African penguin.
I think that's it for now, guys. Do you have any last comments?
We just want to thank you all for tuning into this Facebook Live to celebrate Deco's 40th birthday. We hope to see you soon here at the New England Aquarium, or if you guys want to help out African penguins in their native environment, I'd suggest visiting SANCOB's website or the New England Aquarium website to see how you can help out. But that's it for now. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.